Now, this movie may end up surprising you. It may even change the way you work inside Photoshop and the way you work with other programs. Because at this point, what we have is effectively a single-page resolution-independent design, just as if we had created the file inside, say, Adobe Illustrator. Now, that may surprise you. After all, if I go up to the Image menu and choose the Image Size command, I will see that there is a resolution value of 240 pixels per inch. Not actually that high of a resolution, in fact. All right, so I'll cancel out. Thing is, though, that resolution value has an impact only on the photographic image and the other pixel-based elements, such as the pattern overlay here inside the numbers 365 and any feathered elements as well. However, for the most part, the resolution has no bearing whatsoever on the text or shape layers. So let's say that you want to send this beautiful design out for commercial reproduction. You want to ship it off to a commercial print house. Then what you'd want to do is export the image as a CMYK PDF file. And so in this movie, I'm going to show you how that works. Go up to the File menu and choose the Save As command. And then I'll go ahead and call this document CMYK cover, which may seem like a ridiculous name for the file, given that it is clearly an RGB image. However, we're going to convert it to CMYK on the fly here. And then I'm going to switch the format from native PSD to Photoshop PDF. And finally, I'll turn off alpha channels and layers. If you leave those checkboxes on, you're going to create an unnecessarily large document. In this case, it's going to be close to 30 megs. If you go ahead and forsake the layers, you're not going to get rid of any information that you need here, then the document will be about 10 megs, which of course is preferable. Also, if you leave those options on, there's a chance you'll have compatibility problems moving forward. So then go ahead and click Save. You'll be saving a copy of your image, so you're not going to do any damage to the image at hand. So go ahead and click the Save button. Then you'll get this curious warning that tells you, well, you know that stuff you just did in the previous dialog box? Well, it's actually possible to change that stuff in the next dialog box. So just go ahead and click OK. And then I'm going to reset my Adobe PDF preset from high quality print modified to the standard high quality print. And notice this checkbox that comes on here, preserve Photoshop editing capabilities. That's going to go ahead and put the layers back inside the file. So it's going to save the PDF file complete with layers. We don't want that. So definitely turn that checkbox off if you see it on. Embed page thumbnails, we don't need that. This is a single page design. Optimize for fast web preview, doesn't matter, leave it on. And then finally, we definitely want to view the PDF after saving it, because that'll be highly illuminating, as you'll see. You will, however, need a PDF reader. On the Mac, you've got Preview. On the PC, unless you've got Acrobat Pro installed as a function of the version of the Creative Suite you own, then you'll want to download the free Adobe Reader, which you can get from Adobe's website. You just go to adobe.com. It's right there on the front page. Next come the compression options. And notice it says for images above 450 pixels per inch, they're going to be downsampled. Well, that doesn't affect us because our image is 240 pixels per inch. And finally, these options have no effect on the text or shape layers. What you do want to change is the output settings. So go ahead and click on output, and we'll change color conversion from no conversion to convert to destination. And by default here in the States, you'll see working CMYK US web coded swap V2. If you end up talking to your commercial printer and they recommend a different color destination, then go ahead and click on this option and select that destination from this list. However, my guess is they'll tell you just to stick with the default. So that's what I'm going to do. Just leave it set to working CMYK. And we definitely want to include a destination profile. And that's it. You don't need to worry about either security or summary. Just go ahead and click Save PDF. And you'll save a PDF copy of this file. And you can see we've got a little Save Progress bar down there in the lower left corner. And then eventually the file will open up in the default reader application, which in my case is Acrobat Pro. So I've gone ahead and selected the hand tools you can see here. And I'm going to zoom in on a few details of this document. Starting with this area of hair right there, I'll go ahead and press the Control and Spacebar keys, that's Command and Spacebar on the Mac, and drag in order to zoom in on that detail. And you can see that we've got this pixel-based hair that's woven into this razor-sharp text, which I believe is the letter U at this point. And then you can see some other hair details coming in to the other side of the U, I believe. And then we've got these hairs that are coming into the O and so forth. So everything about the text super sharp. Everything about the image, you can see the pixels when you start zooming in. But the text, this smooth text here, is going to render at the full resolution of the output device. All right, so I'll go ahead and zoom back out here. And let's try out another detail, something like this little bit right there. Go ahead and zoom in on it. And you can see this is that shape layer that we drew that represents the swash underline. And it's absolutely super smooth, transitioning into the arm, which of course has pixels associated with it. All right, I'm going to zoom back out. Let's take a look at 365 here. I'll go ahead and zoom in on some portion of the 6 here. Doesn't really matter what. And you'll see that the text is, again, extremely smooth. The stroke outline, which is a layer effect, is nice and smooth as well. The only stuff that's turning into pixels is that pattern overlay I was telling you about, and anything soft. So the bevel and emboss effect inside the letters is also rendering out to pixels. All right, one more zoom out. There's one final detail I want to show you, and that's the sparkle. So I'll go ahead and zoom in on it as well, and you can see because we applied a feather value to those shape layers, they end up rendering out to pixels as well. So as long as you avoid the feather value, then you're going to get super crisp results like this text up here. But when you apply feather, it's got to be rendered to pixels. That's just the way it works. That turns out to be a great thing, though, because it makes the sparkle consistent with the photographic image in the background. All right, I'm going to go ahead and zoom back out here, maybe scroll up as well. And that, folks, is how you create a professional quality, resolution independent CMYK PDF file for commercial reproduction. That's every bit as smooth and sharp as anything you'd get out of Illustrator, InDesign, or any other vector-based program.